Something that's always seemed hypocritical, perhaps on my part, is the way that I've looked at rappers and certain pop culture movies, and other poets would be upset about them. I've learned long ago to appreciate lyricism above and beyond what somebody's talking about. It's been a harder issue with me with regard to movies and books. My mother and I, when I was a teenager, had like our own 2-person reading group. She would get a book and read it, then I would read it after her, and sometimes we would discuss it. The Color Purple by Alice Walker is a good example. It's one of the first ones that comes to mind. And we read it, we discussed it, I dug the book. Years later, the movie comes out. I didn't know how to take it, because the book put me in the mindset of, this is just an isolated situation, this is a family and a community, and this is what occurred, and this is a story. This is the type of thing, something that happened in history, and it's just an example of this. The movie seemed like it was making a statement on the entire black race, and black manhood in particular. So the movie threw me. It felt like an indictment. It felt like black man against black woman. Not this is an isolated event, but this is the history of black people. Later, The Women of Brewster Place comes on television. Now that's a book I didn't read, but the television show it hit me hard. You had all these black men who seemed like predators, who seemed menacing, intimidating to sisters in the neighborhood. You had Mike Tyson, who was a black man's hero, a black boy's hero at the time, and he just hanging out on the corner, drinking 40s. We like, when Tyson is the cat that spits the philosophical platitudes before and after he knocks somebody out in the ring. Why is he just reduced to drinking 40s? I believe it was Robin Givens, who was with a brother who had a dashiki. He was a community worker, but it's like he had almost no lines, no context, no character development. And it was weird waiting for this cat to say something to make up for the way they portrayed all these other dudes as menacing, disrespectful, predatory. And the funny thing about The Women of Brewster Place, and I never read that book. I used to want to read it because I was assuming the book could not have portrayed that community the way that the movie did. But the thing about that show was, I knew about NWA before The Women of Brewster Place, but I thought those cats was crazy. I paid them no mind. The way they talked about sisters, I wasn't interested in what they had to say. And then after seeing that show, I felt like, yo, maybe they got a point, or maybe there is another side to this discussion, because it seemed like sisters in that whole presentation was coming at us like black men were the enemy. So I wanted to hear the NWA perspective. That's what even introduced NWA into my life. So fast forward past the Color Purple book, past me seeing the movie, past Brewster Place television show, and you get to the whole poetry era. And then you got these new movies that come out from books that I had coincidentally read as well. A couple of them. One was Disappearing Acts from Terry McMillan, and the other was Her Waiting to Excel. And in reading the book, same thing. I felt like it was just an analysis of a situation, especially Disappearing Acts. They're just mainly talking about one relationship, and then Waiting to Excel, just a similar book, but about multiple relationships. And when I saw the movie, I wasn't thrown like I was when I saw the movie for Color Purple or the television show for Brewster Place, because the movies came across to me the same way as the book did. Like, we just analyzing a situation or these situations. It didn't feel like no global analysis or indictment of black manhood or black male-female relationships. But a lot of cats in poetry took it offensively. They took it like they was coming at black men, the same way I took Brewster Place. Fast forward a little further, and the movie Baby Boy comes out. I recall a poet saying he was boycotting the movie. He thought everybody should try to make sure black people didn't go see that movie. He was writing a letter to John Singleton, to the movie studios, to the theater, about how that movie was anti-black and destroying the black family, and told me I should never see it. So eventually I see the movie and I dig it. The movie starts off with a Dr. Francis Cress Welsing quote. So, that was the beginning of even pulling me into it. It was a portrayal of the type of individuals that I knew about, some ways associated with. I knew cats who borrowed women's cars and brought them back way too late. People who was running up people's credit. Like, you didn't You didn't know these people? That's how I'm talking to the Ashe cats. Like, y'all, we know these people. These people still come see us do poems. They trying to mag girls. We see them in the club. Like, you know, we know our cousins, our brothers, our close associates, cats who just wasn't treating sisters the way we would. But it was, to me, a humorous in a way, perhaps a bit of a caricature, a little bit of a parody. But these were things that were happening. What I've seen cats do in real life, those dudes you shake your head at like, man, that's not living. But it never made me feel like it was an indictment. And because I couldn't jump on the bandwagon with other poets, it always felt like I was some type of poetic hypocrite because I wasn't Asheing on that. You know, it was just real to me. I'd rather be judged for who I am and what I'm really about than from what I'm perceived to be.